What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Valley coming at you with the one, the only, my certified fantabulous co-host, Mr. Grant Hughes. It is live mailbag time. Our first mailbag of the season. Took us a third of the way through the schedule to get to one. I'm not even sure if we've done a live mailbag before. We've done live shows, but maybe this is a first. It's the first of the season, that's for sure. We have lots of great questions to get to, leading with the existential crisis of the Golden State Warriors, to whom neither of us are beholden to.
No.
And then we'll get to some stat padding. We'll try and get through as many questions as we can in the next hour or so. And then we've got loaded stat padding for you today. Like, we really stat padded our stat padding section. We're excited.
Pad it up.
First question of the day, though, Grant. How the heck are you doing?
As Steve Kerr said, that's we're going to keep that in house. It's what did he say about the Draymond thing? It was a good answer, but it basically was like, we didn't say in house, but it was essentially like a none of your business situation. That's how I like to live my life. I like to keep all my disputes in house, or just happy thoughts either way. So I was watching that game, and I don't know if this is a great sign. It took me a lot longer to notice that Draymond hadn't been in the game than it probably should have. Where it was like, it's like things were going pretty well, and like, oh yeah, where's he been? Because I didn't catch the argument and him leaving the bench in real time.
No, and do you assign, before getting to the actual Warriors question that we have, do you assign any concern to this? I just feel as if, given all the things that have happened with Draymond Green, this is part of the Draymond Green experience, is you're going to have these blips, these curveballs, these antagonistic moments, and you're just going to have to live with it. And maybe it's just harder to live with because this isn't the Draymond Green that helped spearhead, the same Draymond Green that helped spearhead those 4 title runs.
That's the difference. There have been instances a lot like this, and can you imagine how many there have been in practice and just situations that we don't even know about? There have been so many, and it's not a big deal, which is a weird thing to say, except for what you said, where at some point the juice isn't worth the squeeze is like the wrong analogy, but it's something close to that, where it's like you put up with all the Draymond stuff because of all the negative stuff and the headache stuff because of all the good you get along with it. It's kind of, the package is not divisible. Like, you get all the Draymond experience is like a total thing. But now that, what do you have, 14 turnovers in the 3 games leading into the Orlando game, and that just people, if you've watched them regularly, they're just like egregious, like unthinkable turnovers. And he's, so he's just not the same player he was, which of course not, like nobody is at that age. So that's the difference. I don't know I guess it's a very different question. And maybe we can get to the question from Bill here, because it kind of touches on it. Like, does his decline in performance and maybe value to the team make it more likely that he gets traded? The specific question is it too late for the Warriors to include Draymond Green in a Kuminga/Pods trade to improve the roster and give Steph a last chance at a playoff run? Is it too late? So I guess what we're presuming from that question is, like, is his value so low, or is he such a tricky fit elsewhere that, like, he doesn't actually profile as like someone who improves the value of an outgoing package with Kuminga and Pods? Is that how you're reading it? Like the too late part of it, or I'm not sure. I think we can get into what those trades might look like, but I'm curious how you're taking the question.
I look at it as twofold, is to where that it's a broader, is it too late question to, is it even worth it? Because you're not just giving up on the idea of Draymond Green or at that point, Jonathan Kuminga and Pods. It's, are you willing to include future first? Is the team with Steph and Jimmy Butler and any of the guys who are remaining and who you're getting back, are they going to be good enough to contend for a title? And if the answer is no, you could still talk about trading Draymond Green, but the appeal of throwing first round picks on the table on top of that is not going to be that attractive. And then the other element to it is, okay, well, does Draymond Green have value? I think he'll definitely have value. I don't know if you put him on the market that you would just get a first round pick outright, though. I think because of what he can still do defensively on certain nights, and just the fact that he does have a player option for next season. And so we're not talking about a long-term contract. You could view him as salary ballast, to put it like super cruelly at that point. So, but if that team doesn't, if a team that's acquiring him doesn't view him as a helpful player, because whoever the Warriors are getting, presumably, is coming from a team that is currently rebuilding or probably resetting, would be my guess.
Okay.
And Draymond's not going to be a part, as he's heading into his late 30s, a part of their plan. So if you're going to accept him as part of the package, my thought process would be, well, can I reflip this guy, or do I view him as is he a valuable mentor to some of the younger guys for the rest of the season, and we revisit his value over the summer? Are you secretly hoping that he declines his player option because he's at what, like 27 million or whatever it is the following season? He's not going to get that. I'd be shocked if anyone gave him that annually on the open market, but could he get 16, 18 over a longer period of time, and he wants to lock down whatever money? There's so many moving parts to it, but do you think, if they were, before getting into what players might be worth giving up on Draymond for, if you put Draymond on just the trade market, Draymond as a standalone contract and player right now, do you think you get a first round pick for him? And I think that Bert does not believe that you're going to get a first round pick.
No, he's very anti Draymond trade, it would seem. I just don't know how to. So thinking about like the concept of trading him, my first thought was who's got to have Draymond? You know, like what's the team out there that's like, this is someone that we believe to be valuable enough to our operation to give something up of consequence. And it's like, well, it's got to be a team that has zero problem scoring, and it's got to be a team that needs like this kind of defender and like secondarily facilitator. I don't really know how valuable his facilitation is, like outside of playing with Steph. It's probably got some value, but it's so specific. And he sort of had to do it because the way defenses cover him, like with the ball, he has to be a threat somehow, and shooting has never been that. So if you put him on some other team, I just don't know what that would look like. So like, is this just go through the best offenses in the league? Like Denver, I don't know. I gotta believe Denver feels a lot better with Aaron Gordon in those minutes. Like the Knicks are the second best offense in the league. Does he make sense next to Cat? I don't hate it. Kind of like that. That actually has a little bit of logic to it. Doesn't make any sense with Mitchell Robinson. Houston, that's weird. Like, you know, you could just go down the best offenses. It's really hard to find
what about
a no-brainer fit.
What about the Lakers?
That would be like finally going to play with his true first love, LeBron, or something like that. I mean, they do need defense. Is he? Yeah, that's a good option of some not great options, because you could, he's never going to be on the ball with the Lakers though, right? Like ever. So what do you do with him offensively?
Well, he's not a lob threat, but could you run just screen and rolls to death with him and Luka and have him operate out a short roll like that?
I feel like you'd switch everything. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to shoot it down. That's a better example than any of the teams I named. Like San Antonio.
What about, well, you would have to take back, maybe if they're giving you a pick, would you take back Paul George? Like it's Kuminga, Draymond, and whatever other salary, and then the Sixers are sending you Paul George and a pick?
I could see that. I mean, the Sixers just want off that money, basically, and yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like Paul George really he's not been bad this year. It's more the price versus availability and the minutes that he's playing thing.
What a funny team. Paul George, Jimmy Butler, and Steph Curry on the same team. What a team that is in 2018 or something like, or 19.
Well, I think so. That's the challenge. And so if you're trading Draymond Green, I don't know. There's the emotional component behind it, and you have to wonder if he provides the value in a larger package. Is it worth jumping through that hoop? Or do you just think the player you're getting back is, well, this player is such a good fit, we think it elevates our title ceiling. We're using Draymond basically as salary at this point, or the equivalent of second round picks. I just don't. We've run into this problem with the Warriors talking about it before. I think Steph is good enough to where you could say, yeah, if that trade is on the table, you still go after now. I know people have had the discussion, do you need a player better than Steph Curry at this point? And that's akin to saying you just need another top 10 player, which is, right. I just find that a little, it's reductive.
Yeah.
I still struggle to find the player that would make me comfortable. That the non-Giannis division, just assuming that, because look, their Giannis offer is a lot better than some of the other teams that are being.
It's not terrible.
Right.
It's not terrible.
They put all the picks on the table. Like that's definitely better than the Knicks. It's better than Miami's best offer, most likely, even though they have Khalil Ware. But the non-Giannis division, what are the names that start to stand out there? I think if you were going with the biggest name possible, if that's the goal here, I keep coming back to Anthony Davis.
I mean, so he would pass the threshold test that I was kind of thinking of, which isn't that different from what you're talking about. But like, I view it as, I guess you have to answer the question first. Do you think Draymond is in the Warriors' best lineups today? Like, is he closing games, assuming he doesn't leave for the locker room after an argument? Like, I think probably. I think the answer is still probably. So that's the threshold you have to cross if you're trading him. And that's leaving aside the possibility that's like Steph just says, no, that's not, no, thank you. We're not trading him.
What do you think Steph would say? Being a close personal friend. What do you think he would say? I just hope you haven't had any.
You want me to call him? I can call him. Do you think it would be good for the pod if we just had him on? I've never really thought to ask if you thought that.
Yeah, I think that's a great
what would
idea.
he say? I think
if you gave him truth serum, I think he would say deal him. I think he would say it.
I think it depends on what you're getting. I think you would need. Man, I don't know. The Clay situation is different because Clay wanted to leave, right? So that like it took Steph out of having to weigh in. I think, and even then he tried to convince him to stay, right? Like I think.
But now is it sort of the dam's already broke though? So he might.
There's
be
some of that.
Let
There's some of that, and I think now 2 years down the line, it's like the finite nature of this team's competitive window, like. It's all the clearer now that everybody's a couple years older, right? The end is way closer now than it was then. So maybe there's enough urgency on Steph's part to be like, I don't want to do this, but we gotta, and it's easier because we are like all three of us will not have, we won't all three be one team guys. I think my gut says it's still really hard to imagine Steph greenlighting that, and he would almost he would have to. He would have to. Well, right?
I think it's a fun exercise would be: would Steph think about greenlighting the trade for this player? So
it would have to be a no-brainer at that point. Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis is a great name. I think he would do it for Davis.
Okay, but not a Trey Murphy or a Derek White then.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it would have to be a quality of player where it was just like no one could hold it against him. Not that anyone in Golden State's ever going to hold anything against Steph, but it's like if it would feel like a betrayal of sorts, because there's, again, like it's a necessary condition of a Draymond trade. Like Steph has to say he's okay with it.
Now, just asking questions here. What if the Warriors, they're probably putting everything on the table, and this team decides, hey, we think we have his heir apparent or another big man of the future here. We don't know what our next big name that we're going to be able to acquire, who that's going to be. The Warriors put literally everything on the table. Bam Adebayo.
I mean, he might be more valuable than Davis if you're factoring in durability. So I mean, I don't know. You could make a case.
I guess if you're gonna no-brainer Anthony Davis because of the availability question marks, you would have to do the same for.
Well, Davis is weird too, though, for the Warriors because he's just killed them. Like he's been such an unsolvable guy for several meetings and series. So like, I mean, he seems like the bigger name in a way, but if you're just like, who's going to help us win in a sustained way, it's like, I don't know. Bam is pretty hard to beat, and he has like he does a lot of what Draymond does, but a lot of what Draymond can't. So it's like the fit would seem to make a ton of sense there too. I don't know.
What about Kawhi Leonard?
I've always kind of liked that, just because I think he's
you like Kawhi?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of is a wild take because nobody should be that interested in having Kawhi, but like I think he's probably a better player than Butler is still. Like, even if just the ceiling's higher. I mean,
think about that team. You were talking about Paul George, Steph, and Jimmy Butler,
right?
Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. I mean, That's on the Davis level, probably. That's probably one where if that was what was going to happen, Steph would have to like think about it.
I yeah, I think that Kawhi Leonard would do more for the team's ceiling if everyone's healthy, but I think Anthony Davis might have more like future value because he's less of a wild card. To where I could see Kawhi Leonard just
Yeah.
retiring at some
Well,
point.
right, yeah. But you're in the Kawhi sweepstakes because it is California. Like there can't be that
Yeah,
many teams he would consider playing for, and Golden State, I imagine, is one. That's a short PJ flight back down to San Diego. Um, so I want to. Is it too late for the Warriors to include Draymond in a trade?
I don't think it is. I
No,
just don't think they will.
yeah, I don't
That's
think it's
kind of
too
where I'm at.
late at all. I think there is a question of like, is it too late in the sense of like, would it even matter? You know, like, is him and whatever else enough to get this
Is
team where it wants to go? Like, but then that's not even a Draymond specific question. That's just like, can this team do it?
right, and that's what's so fascinating. I've asked you some variation of this question probably a dozen times this year. Is
Yeah.
that if you were to throw names out of the equation, what is the type of player that makes you feel like what is that play? What's the biggest thing anyone they acquire in a consolidation trade needs to do?
I think I'm still stuck on someone that, and this is a superstar almost by definition. So like, okay, great. It's just someone that with it's got to be kind of with their athleticism and just individual ability can just beat his guy and get into the paint and draw other defense, like just a second, call it a secondary creator, but just someone that you don't need to run a bunch of split cuts and a bunch of handoffs and a bunch of this and that to get a paint touch to then start the offense going, and it takes the Warriors like 15 seconds to accomplish that because they don't have a beat your guy from a standstill player. Butler does
Mhm.
that some, but it's foul grift and it's not a blow by thing. I think they need that kind of guy where
What
it's
about
just
Jonathan
like,
Kaminga? Sounds
right?
like something.
That was fun when we thought maybe that would be in the bag. But I think that's it. You could say it more dynamic offensive big guy for sure, but I still think just someone that can make stuff happen offensively independent of the Warriors like system. And they don't have that guy. Like Pajemski stands out because he cannot do that. And he's like they need him to, and it's just beyond his ability.
And the final leg of this question would be part of the appeal of trading Draymond is because of that extra salary. I don't know who's the best player that you could acquire without including his salary because it's a struggle to. I mean, you know, it'd be kind, and I think they could get there because what's Kaminga at 20?
24.
They could
I
definitely
have it.
get there, but like
22.5.
if you threw everything on the table, because Jaren Jackson Jr. is at 35 million. Is that front court then too small? I mean, him and Draymond, intuitive on offense, I would say. You don't have to worry about the Jaren Jackson Jr.'s 3-point efficiency is always all over the place, but he'll take them. He's maybe not as athletic as you were hoping, but we saw mostly
Yeah.
last season he could create from dead stops for sure.
Yep. No, he wasn't someone I was thinking of, but yeah, I mean, because of the position he plays, any ability whatsoever to create from nothing is like super valuable because that's normally guard stuff, and you're sort of limited in the kind of, you can't play another small guard, for example. Like, just I don't know why he's not popped into my head, but like Jeremiah Fears can just beat his guy. He's not obviously on the table, but like you can't really play a guard of that size next to Steph and get away with
Mhm.
it against really good teams. So the guard side of that, when you're looking for that type of player, is kind of limited. Whereas if it's the center, great. Like, yeah, that's perfect.
This is an interesting comment. Video editor for Hardwood Knocks, Andrew Willett. I feel like it's size, but to get the secondary creation that Grant is talking about, you might need two transactions. Yeah, getting the creation in a big, because even Anthony
Yeah,
Davis, I think, falls short of that. And
a
that
little bit.
could
Yeah.
that be the other thing? Is is it just the Warriors need two medium-sized trades that we're trying to galaxy brain this and get them a huge name? But I'm trying to think of what would be like you know, like who's a big that's not making too much money that maybe you go out and you take a flyer. If you were able to get a Robert Williams and a freaking secondary creator,
Well,
Kobe
Andrew
White feels too.
suggested in the next comment. I mean, Kobe White is the level of if we're talking two trades. I don't know if you're getting AD and Kobe White, but if it's Robert Williams or Daniel Gafford and Kobe White, or in two separate moves, like that gets you closer to I think what you're looking for. Um, White's definitely available. It sounds like more. I think the report was like more than ever. The Bulls are willing to
which is
listen.
just malpractice because he should have already been available. But
He
yeah,
should have been long gone. Yeah.
I do think that's, even though that path feels a little more complicated, doesn't it maybe feel more like, it feels more likely that anything is more likely than them trading Draymond. Even if they were getting Giannis, I would probably just assume that Jimmy Butler is the outgoing salary.
I mean, yeah, maybe. Right. Yeah. That's the other thing is the green lighting of that trade by Steph would be just like, that might not even be one the Warriors would feel like they really needed like his full approval on, because it's just not the same, even though Butler's a better player than Green right now.
That was our default question. So do you want to pick? You can take the first pick of we're just going to bounce around all these great questions we have.
Yeah, let's see here. I'm trying to make sure we don't get too much overlap like topically. Here, okay, let's just do this one. From Matty L. In light of all the talk about the Clippers potentially giving their pick to OKC, could you explain how pick protection works exactly? In particular, when we hear someone has the worst pick of 3 different teams. Also, how do teams go from having no picks to trade to having, for example, 3 first-rounders available at the start of the next year? Thank you. Well, I guess let's take the first part, which is how pick protection works. Just take
it's about
the
to get
example.
More confusing if you believe the board of governors, apparently. But
well, apparently. Well, I mean, that is something that I did just skim what some of the anti-tanking proposals are. And it's just, the idea would be to limit the types of protections you can put on picks to either top 4 or top 14, basically, right? Because at the moment, you can protect
anything.
Like there's sections of picks that are protected. Like the Warriors had the Washington one, which is like, it was protected 21 to 30, or what was it?
Yeah.
It was some kind of weird
21 to 30. And so it's the more interesting part of that pick is still available.
Right. Which is, you don't see a lot of those. What you typically see are, hey, Dan, I'm trading you this pick in a trade. You will only get it if it falls outside of the top. Just let's use the Utah OKC example, because that was kind of top of mind. So the Jazz had to dump Derek Favors' salary. They attached a first rounder to do that. Oklahoma City, opportunistic, took the deal. And the Jazz have owed the Thunder a first rounder with protections on it that have changed over the last couple of years. But so this year, the example is if it's inside the top 8, the Jazz keep it. If it's 9th or worse, the Thunder get it. And I don't know what happens. Usually that's the other complicating factor, is like, they'll roll over. Like if not conveyed, you can then condition different things to happen to that pick. It can be extinguished. It can turn into 2 seconds. That seems to have been pretty popular for a while. It can turn into a second.
Turn into nothing. That's what Golden State's does, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. So that's the basics of pick protection. I hope I'm not like over explaining.
No, it's really just the selected range where you could get the pick. An unprotected pick is you get it, a first round pick, let's stick with, no matter where it lands. They could win the lottery and get the number 1 pick. You get it. They could finish 25th. You get it. And it's that I think for me at one point, what was more confusing is how do these, and I still get it wrong sometimes, is how do these picks all of a sudden open up? And
right. Well, that's the third part of the question, is like, built into the calculus here is the Stepien rule, which is a team cannot basically trade or cannot be without its first round pick in 2 consecutive drafts, right? But if you have somebody else's first, does that factor? I never remember.
Yeah, it does. You have to be guaranteed, though. So if it's conditional, that's where you can't then trade an outright first. Like the Heat run into like some of this stuff, like some of these issues, and that's where the conditions get confusing. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so the example that Maddie raises of like, how does a team have no picks and then at the start of next year, suddenly there's 3? There's similar cases now. Usually it's not no picks. Usually it's like they can trade a maximum of 1, which is like kind of where the Lakers are, or some other teams are at the moment.
The Bucks.
And then if you get to the next league year, it can be up to 3 because 1, the latest down the line 7 years off pick that you can trade probably comes into play. And 2, you've done something to make it so that you're not violating the Stepien rule by trading 3 picks. Like there's enough years in there to where you've got alternate years being conveyed or whatever, right? Like, is that, I feel like that's not a clear
so let's use the Lakers as an example. They owe their 2027 and 2029 first
which
round
means
picks
they cannot trade what right now?
As of right now, they can't trade 2026, 2028, or 2030. So
Right. Because
those
that
three
would
are
be
off.
2 years in a row, and you can't do that.
Right. And because you can go only 7 years out into the future, you have to look, that's 2032 is as far out as you can trade a first round pick right now. So they can trade 31 or 32. That's the pick they could trade. But what you said about the new league year is once the new league year resets, you can say it's the equivalent of trading a first round pick because it is, but they're basically like on draft night, they can trade this year's first round pick,
The guy they
2026.
pick, basically,
Right.
right? That you're just picking for that other team most
Or
times.
right, you're picking for that other team. So in that scenario, because you're talking about a new league year, they're trading their 2026 first round pick, but they can also, once the new league year resets, trade out until 2033. So all of a sudden you can trade 31, leave the gap in 32, and trade 33. And it's something similar to what the Bucks are doing. Is they can only trade one first round pick right now. That becomes 3 when factoring in this draft. As you see that 2-pick bump, because what you're effectively doing is you're not trading a future first round pick anymore. You're trading a current first round pick.
Right.
Is that how I've always defined it? And what teams do, and this is not to confuse it further, there's no way like around it, but is the swaps. It's just, well, we can't trade you an outright first round pick. But look at that. The Bucks again, when they got they traded Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard. They gave Portland all of these swaps because you can, as long, it doesn't have to be your own, or it doesn't even, like Phoenix is traded like a swap of a swap of a swap, which gets really confusing to track as well. And so that's the part that I think is more confusing than all of it could be confusing, but the protections I feel like are way more straightforward. Than the Stepien rule gets complicated because of the way that current first round picks are, however you want to frame what happens with the new league year.
And then last thing, like how do teams, or what about when we hear that someone has the worst of 3 picks? So that would actually apply to, what is it, Milwaukee, Atlanta, and New Orleans this coming draft, right?
Yep.
Because New Orleans traded the best of its own and Milwaukee's 26 first to Atlanta in that draft night trade. So Atlanta gets the best of those 3. No, just gets the best of those 2.
Right.
Right.
So it would just be let's just say you're owed, because it happens a lot with second round picks or something too. Is where, let's say Oklahoma City is going to get the most favorable pick from Philly, Los Angeles, or Utah. So most favorable would be who has the highest pick, which is effectively if Utah is 10th and Philly is 16th and Los Angeles is first. They get Los Angeles's because that was ranked highest with first. And if it's the worst, they would get Philly finishes 16th in that scenario. So what's interesting with those is I don't know if they come into play nearly as often. Just that's like, you need to have it feels like have an embarrassment of riches already to even like offer those types of like you need to have the multiple first round picks in the clip to even offer that type of package.
Well, I do think too, like if this is confusing, like I get it, because I feel like we are at peak complicated pick protection and like obligation status right now, which is partly, in addition to curbing tanking, that's got to be why the league is looking at like we gotta simplify this process, because like it's worth knowing, right? Like if your team. Oh, everybody loves the trade market, right? That's all anybody wants to talk about. It's like, well, you got to know what your team's pick situation is. And it's like, even for fans of one team, it's like, it can be very complicated. So just because teams, I don't know, have gotten like the swaps of swaps and the Phoenix of it all. And like, there's so many encumbrances at the moment that I get it. If it seems like just, I don't know, like a advanced math class or like an advanced logic class or something where you just have to juggle several ideas.
It was way easier. Yeah, I hope it was probably a journey. It was way easier to track these a few years ago because now I find myself double checking so many things because of it's not so much the protections, but it's just like the swaps are just they're not confusing, but it's, well, did they swap this pick? Did they actually even have their own pick that year? And then the swap Phoenix is just, I couldn't even tell you whose pick they're going to have in a given season at this point. It's just it's insane. And this question is kind of adjacent to it, and it touches on what the league has talked a lot about with regards to tanking, but it comes from where does this one come from? Darkwing Duck. How many teams tanking is too many? How close do you have to be to competing for a champ, or How close do you have to be competing for a championship in order not to tank? And should front offices be fired for unintentionally not being incompetent? Grant and I are going to do something a little bit more extensive on the tanking stuff. I don't know if is there a hard and fast number for you? Let's tackle the first one. How many is too many? And I think if you get to, there's probably a point of the year where it feels like 8 or 9 teams are tanking, and that's too many. I think
That's too many.
once you cross the threshold of like flagrant entire season tanking, anything above 4 makes me uncomfortable. I will say that.
And you also don't see as much of that. I guess like, so who are those teams this year? Like from day one, this was a tank. And even and
does
like
New Orleans count, or did they?
Well, so it can't be because there's no payoff to tanking. So like they're out. That they don't count.
There's teams that think they're good and just organically suck. The Kings aren't tanking. The Kings suck.
No. I think that's an important distinction because the process Sixers kind of took this to a level that was like from the start, the goal was to be bad. And they took more steps, I think, than almost anybody that I can remember to just stay bad, right? Whether that's like who they played, how much they played them, the style that they played, like all that stuff. Am I like wrong that we haven't really seen that level of sustained purposeful losing? Certainly since the lottery odds were like rejiggered,
right.
Like the payoff was just, it was, you might get in the top 4 or you might not. I think that went a long way towards curbing that. So I would say that in general, like the most egregious tanking you don't see anymore, but in some ways the whole, like what Dallas did a couple years ago to keep that top 10 protected first, that turned into, I guess that would have been the Lively pick that they traded with the Thunder for. Like the teams that are pretty good, but decide we'd rather have our pick than make the play-in or something like that. Doesn't that feel like a bigger problem in some ways? Or at least like, because then tanking is creeping into like, this team isn't shitty. Like they could compete night to night if they wanted to, and they're choosing not to. That feels like a bigger problem.
How often does that happen though?
Some version of it happens. I mean, the Blazers have done it's the shutting down. The Jazz have done it. It's the teams that are competent that are deciding we're going to purposely not be competent or competitive. If you're Brooklyn, if you're the Wizards, like that's not on the table for you. It's a different thing.
That's the other distinction, though, is by tanking, are they trying to uncompete? Do they think that, let's use Washington and Brooklyn as an example, that these teams should have done more to maximize the immediate value out of their roster? Because I think what the Wizards are doing is probably the most ethical brand of tanking, if you want to call it that. They've played some of the veterans that they have, but they haven't actively gone out and tried to upgrade the roster yet. And so is that a problem? That they've been in this rebuilding period for the past 3 seasons, or isn't this what teams are supposed to do? Like, how else are you supposed, especially for teams that we know free agency is dead, but the threat of a player wanting to leave or not wanting to be there, like they're not a team that's going to, first of all, I don't think most teams should do this, but you can't really build from ceiling to floor, where they would just consolidate and get a star and then try to work their way back. There might be some teams that could believe they could do that. So how do you get that initial star? You draft them. Yeah. And where are you more likely to get that star? Higher in the draft.
Yep.
And even once you draft these guys, whether they're drafted highly or not, they need to play.
Yeah.
To develop them. And so that's what I struggle with. And even we have Zero Dave in the chat said easy way to curb tanking is worst 2 teams locked out of the lottery and locked into 4th and 5th pick. That's not as nuclear as some of the other proposals I've seen, but it just feels like we're already seeing teams that aren't terrible win the lottery. When you look at what just happened with Dallas, I don't know that we need to add another variable, because now all you might be doing by trying to address tanking is perpetuating certain teams being bad, whether it's organically or deliberately.
Yeah. I think like the second part of that question is really interesting to me. Just how close do you need to be to championship contention to justify not tanking? Because like we're so hard on the teams that stick in the middle, like the Bulls of the world. And like, I mean, the Kings to some extent are kind of that way. I mean, it's honestly like, I think we've been critical of Indiana prior to last year of just like, they're not really, it's so stupid. Like, just because what you just said is right. Like the way that look at the teams that contend, like Giannis drafted, Steph drafted, Jokic like now these are all over the map in terms of where they were picked, but like Anthony Edwards in Minnesota, another like the best teams typically have drafted their guy. So like we knock these middling teams because they're not willing to tear it all apart. And also because we don't have like skin in the game, they tend to not be our favorite teams. We don't have to watch them 82 times like a fan would. So the calculus is different. But like, how do you then, I guess this is another version of like, how do you square? Because we do it, everybody does it. We pile on these teams that stick in the middle. But we're sitting here talking about like, it's kind of bullshit to just tear your team down if it can be competitive. Because if you can't compete for a title, then what are you doing? The goal is to win a title. So if you're not just stripping everything down when it's the moment it's clear you're not a top flight contender, like that's a mistake strategically, right? Because like I don't know, it makes for some like tricky arguments. I just think like I don't know where that line is. I guess like what teams are we cool with not tanking? Like where is the line? Is it a play-in team? If you're a play-in team, you should be tearing it down. If you're in the top 6, okay, most of the time we're not gonna knock you for not like trying to seek better draft position. Is it that clear cut, or I just don't know where the line is?
Yeah. Do you think that having the play-in tournament has made it easier to distinguish where that line should be, or has it been harder?
Well, I think we just don't we make jokes about like, oh, cool, another play-in for the Bulls and the Hawks and the Heat and whoever. Like who cares? You know, there obviously no play-in team is ever going to win anything. So I think I'm just playing like devil's advocate. So like obviously that's stupid to care about the play-in.
Right. I think what's interesting is that where it feels like the Bulls aspire to just get in the play-in, like that's what they're trying
all
to
they
do.
Want. That's the high. That's as high as they want to climb.
You respect a team like Atlanta where maybe they misread how good they were, but like going for it and then it just kind of fails. I don't know how good you need to be, but I would think it's tough because in the West it feels less wide. I mean, the league feels less wide open so long as the Thunder exist. But I think the idea of the play-in, especially if you look back, we've had 7 consecutive different NBA champions. In theory, the idea of getting into the play-in and, oh, like, could anything happen there? Would that give teams an incentive to, you'll get some extra games of gate revenue if you make it into the first round of the playoffs? But the NBA postseason is set up so that the best teams typically win. It's so much harder to upset a team 4 times in 7 tries than if it was the one-off like we see in the NFL, like the way their playoffs work. You're not going to be able to replicate that in the NBA unless you do something where could you bring the first round back to best of 5, and then that increases the value of getting into the play-in, because in theory, like we could be 3 out of 5 is so much easier than 4 out of 7.
Yeah. It's tricky. I do think like just to maybe try to wrap the tanking discussion, like the simplest answer has always been it's more about incentivizing winning than it is disincentivizing losing. So like the example of if you're one of the 2 worst teams, you're stuck outside of, you got to pick 4th and 5th. But like, I guess in a way that is incentivizing you to not be in the bottom 2. So it's like win more. That is sort of a positive incentive. So I don't know. It seems much harder to like, what can you put out there for teams in that like lower middle class that are candidates to tank or to go for a play-in? Like, what can you give them? Because the play-in, I think pretty clearly is not enough on its own. But what else can you give a team to incentivize these last 15 games of the year? You're not a contender. Try to win as many of them as you can. Like, what can you as a carrot dangle if you're the NBA, as opposed to just like, I don't know, penalizing them somehow?
What do you think about the idea of locking the lottery odds on March 1st? And so if you know where your lottery position is already, does that incentivize you going into the play-in?
I guess you would not be incentivized to lose. So that's good, right? Because it does not help you. I don't know if that incentivizes you. If you're locked, does that incentivize you to, I think you might still rest guys that you would otherwise rest because you're worried about wear and tear. Like I think that to some extent that does help but that just removes the incentive of losing. I don't know if it incentivizes winning, which is like, it sounds like I'm making a distinction that doesn't exist, but I think
No,
they are two separate things.
That's a fair point. And I don't know how we've already kind of seen it with people are going to react to the NBA Cup differently when there's $500,000 per player on the line. And Andrew Will in the chat says, what's the downside of a single elimination tournament of all the non-playoff teams for the number one pick, throwing some prize money so players care about it? In theory, that'd be cool. I just don't think players are going to get up to compete so that you could potentially draft their replacement.
That's the dynamic that's weird. Like, I mean, right, because the organization would be like, guys, we got to like the front office would be super motivated. The players, especially, like, imagine there's like a positional overlap too. It's just like it would be difficult to really want to go for that.
Yeah, I don't have any perfect answers, and we'll dig deeper into the topic. Oh, the final leg of this question from Darkwing Duck, though: should front offices be fired for failing to tank properly? This could be. I think a lot of people view it as a Utah Jazz question. I just think you can't. Is that more of a coaching thing? Is it more of a player thing? It's just you can't fault the Jazz for being more competent, especially on the offensive end, when they've done this is short of they need to trade Larry Markkinen, I guess. But like, think about how good are the Jazz? Sorry, if Walker Kessler never gets injured,
right? Yeah, no, I mean that even ties to the like, where's the line? This year's Jazz, I think, are just they're too good to have started the year trying to tank, and that's been a problem. Like, I think it's more a front office to me is dropping the ball more if it's full of veterans. The roster's full of veterans. It's just the Bulls thing, or even the Kings, where it's like you're veteran led. You know the ceiling is not high. You can't just keep running it back. Like, that to me is a more egregious, I don't know, failure than like what's happening in Utah. Because in some ways, what's happening in Utah is like a positive, just because it means some of the young guys are pretty good.
Keontae George got better. That's kind of part of the whole reason why you do this. Maybe should there be some sort of an impartial committee that you have to be forced to, because franchise valuations are going up so high, is that if you are not in the playoffs for 5 consecutive years, that you need to be like a committee comes in and decides, well, have you taken the steps necessary to even attempt?
Oh man,
because the
Dan wants greater government oversight. You heard it here first. He wants the federal government to take over the NBA front office apparatus.
No, that I do not. That's a tough question. I think the only reason you get rid of a front office for overachieving by not underachieving, is there just has to be a disconnect between what is ownership expecting, what was the plan that was laid out, and if the plan was, oh, Utah is going to get top 4 lottery odds in 3 consecutive years, and then we're going to move on, then okay, they failed at that job if that's what was mapped out. But some of what's happening in Utah is Larry Markkinen blossomed a ton. Walker Kessler ended up being a great acquisition pick, however you want to frame it. Keontae George is now kind of, the on-off splits don't love him still because of the defense, but Keontae George is still, like, he's getting better. And you do have Ace Bailey. Like, that might be the player that you were kind of waiting on. So I don't have answers, and we're going to go more at length at this. Do you want to take us to another question, though?
I kind of want to hit this one real quick, though, so this is from It Never Makes No Sense. Would any of the tanking be a problem if the season was shorter? I don't know why I think this, but my gut says that if the season were shorter, just everything would be better. So, like, I assume that tanking would be less of an issue. I don't know, maybe because, like, a smaller sample means it's harder for separation at the very top and very bottom to occur, because I don't know. I wanted to hit that because I've never really thought about that as like what's another benefit of a shorter season. You might see less tanking. I don't know. What do you think?
Do we think that going to 65 games or 60 games or whatever, like, is there that, because would it incentivize more early tanking? Because
interesting.
So much
good
money.
zag.
Do you know what I mean?
Good zag. So because you got to get after it if you're trying to be at the bottom.
Because right now, Dallas is a great example. A midseason tank from them is they could fall below some teams, but they're going to be hard pressed to really bottom out.
Right.
So it's going to increase the egregiousness of it. There's probably no perfect solve.
Tanking's a hard thing to solve, it turns out. Also, unless you're going to do relegation. I think you would really, that would be That would incentivize some teams because the money you'd lose getting relegated to some second tier league for a year would be motivating.
I wonder if sports betting wasn't legal, how big of a topic would this be?
It wouldn't be as big. Okay, I want to do. This is from Ogiri 9000. If there was one retired role player that played for your team that you could add to your current team, who would that be? Parenthetical. The player cannot have made any All Stars, All NBA teams, or have been the leading scorer while on your team. Well, this is killing me because it means Latrell Sprewell can't be my pick for the Warriors. I take him from your Knicks. The player you choose will only be as good as when he was on your team previously. So I guess that means like it can't be. I'm trying to think of the player that got traded to some other team. It can't be like if you're the Mavericks and you choose Jalen Brunson, you don't get Knicks Jalen Brunson. You get the best you get is Mavericks Jalen Brunson, just hypothetically. Okay, that's a good one. Am I going to take Jordan Poole? is that okay? Is that who?
I did not see that coming.
I said, am I gonna? That's not my official pick because before I read the parenthetical, I was going to take Sprewell because all NBA first teamer, all defensive, was an all-star, is exactly the type of player Golden State would need right now in the backcourt next to Steph because he could guard ones and twos. We're talking 91, 92 Sprewell. Or 92, 93, I forget which. Man, because who else? You can chip in on the Warriors, and I'll help you on the Knicks. Is there someone that's like at that level, like Iguodala? Does he? I don't know if he solves anything for what this team needs right now. Is there? Man,
I'm trying to reread the criteria too on this. So if there was one retired
I
role
couldn't
player,
say like DeMarcus Cousins, for example, for a number of reasons. Because one, you wouldn't get Kings DeMarcus Cousins, and he's made a bunch of all-star teams. So it's a role player specifically
from the Warriors. You want some
Can't
Jarrett
be
Jack
Clay.
action?
Did you say Jarrett Jack?
Yeah, you want some Jarrett Jack. So could they? Are you saying they never could have been an all-star? They never could have been an all-star with your team, and they could have went maybe and been an all-star. So like DeMarcus Cousins would, if you wanted to pick him, would be viable because
I read it as he cannot. This is about a role player, so it cannot have been someone that's ever been an all-star or all NBA or anything like that. Have been whoa, let's see. I don't know. It depends on how you read these clauses. I guess it's more, you could interpret it as this guy cannot have been an all-star, all NBA or leading scorer while on your team. So maybe the move is, oh, Dan, you're speaking to my heart. Yeah. I did enjoy the healthy-ish version of Andrew Bogut. I guess you could go way back, like
Chris
I guess
Webber
Mitch
too.
Richmond must have made he made a couple all-star teams.
Did he make them with the Warriors though?
I'm
did
not
not.
sure. He'd be pretty good if he didn't make them with the Warriors. He might have let him. I bet Mullen probably let him in scoring when they overlapped.
Yep. No, he didn't. He won Rookie of the Year with the Warriors, but he did not make it make an all-star team with the Warriors.
That might be it. Although who knows what his game looks like now, but we won't dig that deep. Okay, I'll take Mitch Richmond then if we can fudge it that way. All right, for the Knicks, man. I mean, is the answer just Gallinari for you? You get peak Gallinari?
Peak Gallinari. I mean, they need a bigger wing. What about well, this wouldn't fall. He didn't make it with the Knicks, but Larry Johnson?
Yeah. So do you get peak Larry Johnson, or you only get as good as he was
with the Knicks?
On the
you know
Knicks.
what? Well, no, I shouldn't say. Isaiah Hartenstein would be a good one.
That's the thing. Like, so you can't take like Derrick Rose and say I get peak Derrick Rose, for example, right?
And also on this Knicks team, I don't think peak Derrick Rose, but right, because Emmanuel Quickly would be more appealing to me than him. What about?
Hold on, you don't want peak Derrick Rose?
No,
that's crazy.
I have Tyler Kolek. Okay. I'm trying to think along the lines of just someone who might be more of a wing, because Hartenstein, when you have Robinson and Towns, I don't think is the right
Okay,
answer.
you need a wing. I'm sure Allen Houston made all-star teams. I wonder. I
Andrew,
mean, did Sprewell make All-Star teams with the Knicks? He must have. I'm
he's
just trying
not.
to get Sprewell picked here. Is really what I'm
I
working
think he
towards.
did. I'll double check that. What about would Spencer Haywood qualify as a wing in today's game, or does he need to be more of a big?
You ask anything about Spencer Haywood, you've exceeded my Spencer Haywood knowledge. I have none.
Sprewell did make an All-Star team with the Knicks. He made one in 2001.
Too bad. That would have been a great pick if he hadn't.
Jason Kidd. That's still Guardy. I don't know if I want Guardy. Oh, you know what? I might just because they don't really have like this sniper. Dante DiVincenzo might be my pick.
Yeah. Just guy who's going to
Landry
shoot.
Shamet on steroids.
Get 10 threes up and yeah. I mean, there's got to be
Anthony Mason. That's just like I don't know. He could probably.
Yeah, I don't think
Anthony
Mason works today.
Yeah, he could. I think
like
I might be locked into
Starks probably made an All-Star game, and he's not like a. Did he? I don't know.
I don't know if I would need it. If I'm the Knicks, I don't know if I need him on this team.
You want a bigger wing than Starks, probably.
Right. Like, what about Quentin Grimes?
Starks did make an All-Star game, 93-94.
I think I might lock myself into, even though he's not really a wing, Dante DiVincenzo. I'm like struggling to think of what would be the other guy that again, if I'm thinking just about how they played with the Knicks specifically.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, I think I'm gonna go with Dante DiVincenzo, and I think lock it in.
Okay, I like it.
Larry Johnson was tempting, but I just don't know defensively if he would be like archetype wise. Might make a lot of sense, but defensively, I don't know if he does enough of what I am looking for if I'm running the Knicks.
All right.
This question's interesting, Grant, and it comes from where did I lose the name here? Cosmic Raccoon. Who are the best veteran minimum bargains in the league this year that signed those vetmin contracts? They gave Josh Okogie as an example. He's certainly done way more in Houston than I thought he was going to.
Yeah.
Mamu in Toronto signed a minimum.
Yep, I'm looking for that. John Hollinger just wrote up a good value article, and like both of those guys are in there, so I'm hunting for that so I can refresh my memory.
Do we start listing Celtics? Why not?
Well, like
Garza?
Okay. Kata's been a huge one.
Kata, yeah. Well, is he on a? Yeah, he is on a minimum.
I think he's on a minimum.
Marvin Bagley is one. He's been pretty good this year. That's you laugh, but it's kind of serious.
I mean, it's just incredible that we're here. Where you're. I mean, when's the last time you said something positive about Bagley?
What about Tim Hardaway Jr. has been very good for Denver this year.
Yeah, I gotta get. I'm not gonna find it. Let's see who else has been a huge value. I guess like rookie scale guys don't count. But...
No, I'm not. And I'm like, even if they were second round picks, I'm not considering them. Jordan Goodwin in Phoenix.
So you're not counting, like Nembhard. You're not counting in Dallas, for example.
Yeah. Is Colin Gillespie still on a vets minimum? Because he would definitely be one then too, right?
They converted him. He's got to be. Oh, that's There's Dominic Barlow in Philly.
Yeah.
I think he got converted. Man, there's a lot, right? Isn't that like, it feels like a lot of guys this year have been
Trendon
hugely
Watford
valuable
too, right?
Yeah.
Because he
Cam Spencer. Isn't Cam Spencer on a minimum? I guess he was a rookie. Maybe he's a rookie scale, but he was a second rounder, right?
Yeah, he converted last year, or he, he signed
Andrew's got our Celtics here. Walsh and Minot. That's pretty good. Did you say those guys? I know we said Kata and Garza.
I said Minot, Garza, and you said Kata. And who was the other ones he listed? Jordan Walsh.
I mean, arguably the best of the group.
Yeah, there have been a lot this year. I think I'm trying to. Did we miss anybody?
I'm sure we did. Okay, let's see. There was one that I saw. Okay, we'll do this one from Brian Toporek. What's the most that a team should pay the following free agents this summer? This will assume opt-outs on all fronts. Trae Young, James Harden, LeBron James. Let's take Trae first. So he opts out. We don't need to, I guess, go through how many teams actually could pay him. Just say in a vacuum, Trae Young is worth X. We can do years and dollars. Like, what are you? So, what is he eligible for? Let's start the extension. I think it's just the Fox number, right? Like 4 for 229. Is that what it is basically?
Well, if he declines his player option, wouldn't it be?
That's he's eligible for a 4 year for 4 years, 229 on an extension. So if he declines it, what can he start at? 30%.
So if he's signing a max deal next year and he's in the 7 to 9 year range, right? So he could go up to 5 years, $288.8 million is, and then a 4-year max for him would be 223.1.
Oof. I'm not touching either of those. I can tell you that. So let's say, is he worth? Maybe we can zero in on it this way. If I told you that Trae Young signed for 4 years and $200 million, are you like that? Seems I'm
like
not
a
doing
flat
that.
50,
just 50 a year average annual value. So, for example, the player option he'd be declining in 26-27 is just under 49 million. So, if you go out average annual of 50, you're going to be talking about, because that's 49 million in next year's salary is almost 30%. But that's going to be in the mid to low 20s with the cap going up by the end of it.
What if you're starting it out? If like you're saying you're paying him his max salary next year, which is he can't even get.
No, I'm saying the total value is 200, so you're probably starting it at like 40 or something like that.
You're saying 5 and 200 is what you're.
Yeah, I said 4 for 200.
Oh, 4 for 200.
It's not. I'm not paying. We don't need to do the math. I'm not. I think like, to me, he's worth like 40 million a year, I would say, overall. So like, if you're starting that at, that's the crazy thing. Like, is he going to take a $10 million plus pay cut in 26-27 salary to get?
Well, I think if you could
tacked onto that,
if you could do 40 million a year, so 4 for 160, or even if it was, do you get the 5th year? If you go 5 for 200, you're locking down. I mean, what's that?
Do you want the 5th year?
But what I'm saying is, from Trae Young's perspective, okay. You're slated to make 50 next season, but you could guarantee yourself an extra $150 million over an additional 4 years. You might need to take that security when looking at the climate. I'm probably with you. I think he's worth he's like in the 25 to 30% of the cap range for me, and it might be something slightly under 30% of the salary cap. I think even when he gives you the defensive effort you're looking for, he's not going to be good on that end. And the other thing is we have yet to have enough evidence that he can play in these different ways. We've seen him play off the ball a little bit more. We've seen him play a little bit faster, but can he exist in these systems that want more functional variability? It's probably flown under the radar. I still think what Luka was able to do in Dallas before they trade, like they had played faster with Luka. What Jalen Brunson in New York's offense this year? Yeah, there's still those possessions where he's pounding the ball, but like Trae Young has never played off the ball as much as Jalen Brunson does right now. So that would be my biggest concern. And then, of course, there's just this season and then last season have not been the best versions of Trae Young, which complicates that even further.
Which maybe is what you're getting going forward, given his age and small guard stuff and all that. So I'd say we're somewhere in the neighborhood of the most you would pay him is 40 million, assuming raises per year. Just talking about like the first year of his new deal. And we're probably not getting over like 170 over 4 years, right? Like, I'm not. I think I'm lower on him than you are. I have concerns with him specifically of like, can he be a role player? Period. Like, is that not possible? And then if the answer is no, then it's like, so is he a 6th man now? Like, is that how we're gonna? That seems crazy that we would consider that. But
do you think it's more about him specifically, or about the league zagging away from that type of that kind of archetype, I guess, because there's still heliocentric offense in the NBA, but think about some of the teams that run it feel uniquely vulnerable in ways that others don't.
I think it's him more than anything, just like he has to be so good as a driver of offense because of all the other drawbacks that like the bar's just really high for a team to say he's the guy we're oriented around.
Hmm.
I I think it's almost unreasonably high. It's like he would have to be like, you don't have to be Steph, but you got to be pretty close to like Dame Lillard of 5 years ago or something like that. And I just don't think Young is quite that.
Well,
But
here's a
he's
fun.
tough.
So the next name would be James Harden, who's making look at what James Harden number is slated to be at next season, or like his player option. He's at
Yeah,
sub 40.
42 next year.
Are you paying James Harden more than Trae Young in a vacuum, or is it because Trae Young is younger and you're hoping for better out years that you'd be willing to invest more in Trae Young? James Harden to me might be more. I might. Here's a way I'll frame it. Would you be more likely to give Trae Young a 4-year and $170 million deal, or just give James Harden a 2-year, $90 million deal?
I think I'd rather do the Harden deal. I'd want it shorter. If you could do the Trae Young deal for a couple of years, that's maybe a different conversation. Just because in both cases, I mean, Harden is kind of, the trend is what it is now with his contracts. I think they're gonna all be shorter. But wouldn't you say like Harden was much better than Trae last year,
Yep.
and injuries have had plenty to do with it, but Harden's been better than him this year. So
He
like
is basically the only thing that keeps the Clippers offense afloat
yeah.
for a lot of the time. Yeah.
So yeah, I would pay Harden more, but I would never go more than like a 1+1. I just right, like you can't be that. His age 36 season. Like you can't
His
go further down the road than that.
his max salary next year could be. There's no. I can't imagine the Clippers would $58.1 million. So if you were to go
Yeah,
like a
that's
2-year max on James Harden, you're talking 2 years and 130.
yeah.
About.
Well, which you don't have to because he's already like he's anchored down around 40 million. Like I think you can go below that too, probably given his age. What about LeBron? Is
Some of the
I
on-off
mean,
splits are painting a bleak picture.
what is he? So this, I mean, talk about like a watershed moment. Is this? I know he took slightly less than the max, but like he's not. So he's at 52.6 this year.
His
I
max is also
mean,
58.1 next year. Now,
you're
I will
you're
say
only
I'm gonna
going
fact.
1+1 ever, right? And he probably is only.
You think? If some
You
team
think?
came, well, I think he's limited. He's going to be limited by the over 38 rule too. So yeah,
Right.
okay, there's that. That's fine.
There's
But
that.
the problem with LeBron, and I think we should evaluate it outside of this, is you would sign him to a max just because of what it would do to your attendance or your marketability as a team. You're not going
Yeah.
to do that with Trae Young or James Harden. So if you filter that out and you're a basketball team entering the 2026-2027 season, what is LeBron James as a player still worth? And that will be his age 42 season. That's nuts.
I mean, he's still. That's so like
He's still
if
at
you
just
could,
20-7, and he's
right.
shooting. The 3 ball's not falling. His 2-point shot is still 56.7% from 2.
I mean, he can't be your best player. I mean, he could be your best player if you have the like a really ideal supporting cast and you're trying to finish 5th in the conference or something like that. So I think that drops him below like the $50 million range. Although if you're factoring in like all the things you're talking about, the
I'm
gate
saying let's
revenue,
not do that.
okay,
Yeah, because
if you exclude that, like what is he worth on the court? If you price in, he's gonna miss time too. It's probably pretty close to like Harden level, right? Like we're talking 40, something like that.
man, he's just such a so is James Harden. And so is Trae Young, to be fair. They're all brilliant playmakers.
Yeah.
Who's of the three, who's the one you're promising the most money to for their on-court value next season?
Honestly, I might say LeBron. Like just because I guess it should be Harden just because he's played at the highest level. Well, LeBron was good last year. I don't know. It's not Trae, I guess, is my takeaway.
Here's the other thing too with LeBron is as we're recording this, how many games he's played in 11 games. And so it might take some time with him. And so I'm just wondering, I'm not expecting a 41-year-old to all of a sudden be an MVP candidate moving forward, but the LeBron that we've seen to this point after missing more time than ever in his career,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just consecutively. Uh, might not be the LeBron that we're going to see if he's still healthy come March, April, playoff time. So I think I go with LeBron as well. James Harden feels like he might have the higher individual ceiling, but I also can't tell if the Lakers pecking order and hierarchy right now is kind of screwing with that for me because Luke is there, because Austin Reeves is there. Is LeBron still who's the best defensively of this group right now? Is that still him? He would
I
certainly
mean,
have the
by
highest
by
peak, but
default,
night to
just the
night, yeah.
size. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it would be him. I'd be willing to just go I'd give him 50. But at that, you're saying he's your best player, so he's probably more closer to 45, but I would pay him the most out of anyone from this group. How much?
I
That
think I
was a pretty
agree.
sobering question.
Yeah. All right. I see one that I like here from Demos. Kind of related to the above question. I'm not sure which question. Maybe it's the offensive rebounding one. But look at the recent Yazikevicius injury where he said that interview, not injury, where he said that in the past it was exciting to see NBA coaches playing their own style. Nowadays they're all playing the same. Do you agree with that? I think it's pretty clear we don't. I think the criticism that all teams play the same way or coaches coach their teams to play the same way. I mean, I guess there's a kernel of truth in it in that, like, generally speaking, you want to play faster and shoot more threes. I think the other trend we're seeing is you generally want to play all of your players lower minute totals and shuttle them in more because we're learning that, like, the ability to play as hard as possible is like a hack that the Pacers really kind of leaned into last year. But in terms of like the way teams go about trying to generate shots and scoring chances and what they do defensively, schematically, I mean, I guess on some level, yeah, like if you're not really looking closely at it, I guess you could say that it's pretty similar, but it's like, that's only because the objective of the game is the same for every team. Like, you're trying to score as efficiently as possible and you're trying to force the other team to attempt to score as inefficiently as possible. And there's just like stuff you should do to achieve those goals. But like, right, the actual styles, I think this year in particular is not the year to be making that argument because there are some pretty distinct personnel based stylistic choices that we're seeing. There's some pretty extreme like attempts by certain teams to like push boundaries of like how far can we go with offensive rebounding, screening, all kinds of stuff, right? Like, it's like, what would you say? Do you agree that like you kind of can get it when people say that things are kind of homogenous, but also like it just ultimately, like, at the bottom of it, that's just not true?
I think that there's a perception problem more than anything, and that's
What do you think
not.
that stems from? Like, why?
I think it stems from until maybe things change with Amazon and NBC, but I think that the league's primary broadcast partners or the outlets that are most tasked with covering the league it's not that they have to masturbate over everything that's happening on the court every single night. I'm not looking for that masturbatory coverage, but they analyze the game from the same old way, and it's legacy debates, or it should. We talk about trades a lot. We love trades. Like, the transaction game is huge, but so little has to do with what's actually happening on the court. And when they are talking about it, it's overly simplified to where there's just, I don't hear this a lot, but the version of who wants it more. Defense
100%.
is an effort thing. You're not spending
Yep.
time. There's more people doing that, and there are people in this space that do an excellent job of doing that, but it's not mainstream coverage. And I think for you and I, or anyone who works in in the business, a podcaster, media member, whatever, you're in your silo because you're exposed to such talent and such nuance on a daily basis because that's what you seek out. But the information and the coverage that is readily available, that is most widely disseminated, it's not informative in any way, shape, or you have some of it. Like, there's a place for legacy talks, absolutely. But just the stuff that's out there, or the stuff that is looking to incite the most reaction, this is a larger comment on probably social media in general, where it's all about garnering these reactions that you're gravitating towards these. They're not even just magnetic topics or even polarizing. They almost feel disingenuous. a lot of the time, to where how many people, it's dumb when I see it with writers. It's no one gets paid enough as a writer to actively do this, but you do start to wonder if a lot of the talking heads, podcasters that are on TV, are they just playing a character at this point, because these questions just have no bearing. And I think that's the biggest thing with the perception problem. And just on a fact basis, I think you hit it, is that teams are trying to do the same thing, and they're just going about it in dramatically different ways. And what I think is not being paid enough attention to is the 3-point attempt rate is down this year. It's still
right, because 3-point
38.1%.
attempts are like the stand-in for, or like the first thing anyone points to when they say everybody plays the same.
And yes, it's down only a tick, but it's, I don't know, if I had to go back and look how many years that it's actually dipped over the past 20, would you even predict one? I might not.
Right, yeah.
And so I think that it shouldn't always be on fans, because one, you have enough work to do as a fan to go find out where the game you want to watch is being aired at this point. It shouldn't be on you to then seek out how the Warriors play defense, or like how to spot a zone defense, or how to spot peel switching. That stuff should be, it's available. It's out there. Everything is saturated when it comes to NBA coverage, but that stuff doesn't feel as accessible because it's not as widely disseminated. And I think that's, to me, that's I don't think it's because fans are stupid and it's too complicated. I think the two things is that the companies behind it that are driving the coverage this is the easy thing to do. This is the one that'll draw the most reaction, whether it's negative or not. And then the other thing, and this is to give credit to not credit, in some defense of the media, of which we are tangentially a part of, there's 82 games, and you have very little time and space in between possessions, in between games themselves, to go, if you cover more than one team, like, it's just impossible to cover it at the scale of what NFL writers and media members would do, while also earning like a reasonable living, because you need to carve out time to actually, it's not just about, this is stupid. You don't get paid to watch games. You get paid to produce content. That's what we're paid to do now. And the watching games and doing the research, I just think it's harder. I'm not saying the game is harder, or that people who cover the NFL I'm not saying that by any, like, Mina Kimes could run circles around probably any NBA X's and O head. But I do wonder the time or the number of games coupled with the speed of the games, if that just makes it harder to get into some of the nuance of the game. It's not that fans are stupid. It's not even that the media members are stupid. It's just sort of this logistical hurdle. I went on for way longer than I thought I was going to.
I think that's all really well said. I don't have a lot to add. What strikes me as interesting, though, is that I think if you give broadcasts, the broadcasters, the people providing the NBA product and packaging it to fans, if you give them a little credit and assume that what they're doing is what fans want, like, the reason that we have legacy debates and we talk about who played harder and wanted it more is because, like, generally speaking, the average fan is like, I understand that. I like this kind of content. That's a problem, because it ties into, like, talking heads doing just rage bait all the time, right? Like, but people want that. They respond to it. They watch longer. We have the numbers, like all that kind of thing, right? So it seems to me that the level of discourse that leads to all teams play the same seems to be what most fans actually want, because everybody with a stake in it understands, like, well, we should serve fans what they want. I don't think networks are necessarily wrong, or media outlets are wrong in covering the game the way that they do, because I think the reverse is, like, if they knew a way to make people more interested and to keep attention for longer and to drive dollars and traffic and whatever more effectively, they would cover the league that way. So I do think it is, like, this is what fans, like capital F fans, like, generally speaking, want. But it's so interesting that, like, it's a feedback loop, because that's exactly the group that's saying, oh, every team plays the same and there's no identity anymore. And it's like, you think that because you're being fed nothing but what you want, by the algorithm, by just whatever the numbers are telling networks to say to you. Does that make sense? Like, it just feels like and the root of it all is that it is easier. It is easier to say, well, this is what fans want, let's give it to them. And it's easier as a fan to say, like, I don't know, leaning into, like, how many ball screens Team X sets and, like, how quickly they get into their actions and, like, positioning on the floor. Like, I don't have second spectrum. Like, how am I supposed to, like, it's just, I don't think a lot of people want to engage with basketball on the level of granular detail that it would take to actually appreciate that teams play differently. I'm not sure there's an interest in that.
But don't you think that, and I think you might be right, and it's especially when it comes back to the transaction game in the NBA, it's this way. I don't follow any sport as closely as the NBA, maybe tennis, but there's not trades in the individual sport. People like trades. That's just a part of sport. It's the same with the NFL. I would have like knowing that. It's the same with MLB for sure. I don't know if it goes hard with the NHL.
I don't think anything's quite the same as basketball, though. I don't think it gets to that level.
Really? Well, so one, the NBA built, it feels like, an entire generation on free agency. Like, remember forget about LeBron leaving in free. Do you remember the years-long lead up to LeBron's free agency?
Right.
Unlike anything I've ever experienced as a sports fan. But what I really want to ask you is, I think you might be right that we know that this is, and you and I have seen like data on it just based off the stuff that we write and cover, and even the podcast. Like, we know our busiest time of the year is when? It's the trade deadline, and it's over the offseason when a lot of podcasts do their worst numbers because that's when transactions are happening. But isn't it reasonable to think that if places were willing to invest in these types of coverages and stick with them, you have to have a stomach for there to be some short-term pain if you want to shift the long-term tenor? Because can we say, what is the outlet that has come, or the company that has come closest to providing that type of analysis consistently and then stuck with it? It feels like it's going to take an iron stomach, which none of us have anymore, because anything longer than 60 seconds is basically considered long form content at this point. If you are here at the 75-minute mark of this podcast still listening, you're probably in like the 0.1% of listeners.
Right. Like, cause talk about an esoteric conversation. We're just like, we're not even like talking about the game. We're talking about like the methods of consumption and like, is the market driving the content or is the content driving? It's just like, I mean, so it sounds like what you're asking is like, what's the example of the quote unquote smart basketball media property that has only operated that way and has lasted a long time? I don't think there's anything that rises above the level of like niche. And I don't mean that as a pejorative. It's just like, I don't know if there's mass appeal in, I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know. Let's just use, like, I think Dunked On does smart basketball discourse, and it's very popular for what it is, but I have no idea. Like, it's a fraction of like your ESPNs and your other media monsters, right? That are giving you none of that kind of content, but giving you all the legacy talk and this team wanted it more. We're painting with a broad brush because there are some like ESPN, and just to use them as an example, or Prime or NBC or whatever, like there's real discussion of like with nuance and like granular detail and value. Hit your mic. But just generally speaking, it's hard to do smart discourse and have it last.
Shout out Zero Dave. That was going to be our last question. Why don't we do one more to close on like not the heaviest note possible? Right. Grant, well, I don't think we're going to close. I don't know why I want to do this question. I don't think we're going to close on the happiest note, but what would you do if you were running the Sacramento Kings right now? And you can't, let's not paint with generalities here to where I would just move everybody. Do any of these guys have real value, or are you better off just sitting them and being bad and gutting it out? And when they're expiring contracts, maybe use them to take on bad money attached to picks. You are controlling the Sacramento Kings right now. Vivek has given you actual carte blanche. He hasn't hired your next coach before you've been hired, or shoving a coach down your throat. What are you doing with the Sacramento Kings?
I think it's pretty clear, and that's
from BJP, by the way. I apologize for not. No,
I think it's got to be. We can get more detailed about it, but I do think there's an opportunity right now if you're gonna go on the multi-year rebuild track to really capitalize on it, as insofar as you can with flattened lottery odds, because a lot of the other teams you'd be worried about being worse than you, Washington's in year 2. The Wizards are going to be a little better next year. And like your Brooklyns, there's other teams that are a year or two ahead of you in the process. So if you are trying to bottom out, I think next year and maybe the next couple, there's a chance to be in like pole position for that, Right. As far as much as that matters, who knows what they'll do with the lottery odds? They might flatten them even more to where there's no point. So having said that, I am willing to take on longer term bad money, which you probably have to do to move Levine specifically, right? Like I think
Yeah,
I think
I think if he's willing to decline his player option and do what Rudy Gobert did in Minnesota, to where, okay, what is he at? Let's say 50 million next year or whatever it is, and he declines that and says, "Hey, I'll sign 3 for 100 or 3 for something that makes it more palatable." But what I was
yeah.
actually when you're I do this all the time. Yeah, take back bad money. What is the bad money floating around there right now? The team are the Sixers compensating you to get off of Joel Embiid?
I mean, yeah, this might be a Paul George thing. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess I don't know. Maybe we can talk in specifics more. But my general plan is like I'm ready for a 2 to 3 year. We're gonna be bad. We're gonna accumulate draft capital. We'll take shots. Just the playbook. We'll take shots on second draft guys, but we got to get out from under the current core, and that might mean having like a worse. I don't know. You're right to point out like where's this bad money? Like who's got it? I think you've got to be willing to take on wherever it comes from, in order to get draft picks to use or trade or whatever. It's just got to be a full reset. Now, if there's specifics you want to get into with certain players, we can do that next.
Who we kind of already went over this a little bit, but who do you think is their most tradable aside from? So I'm moving Keon Ellis. That's step one. It's just that's over with, and I would like to move everybody, but realistically speaking, I think I'm coming into this by saying I'm not trading Sabonis right now because he's injured and I'll get no value for him. Now, if teams came with an offer, I guess this would actually be the better, more specific question. If teams came in and they just gave you expiring contracts, that's it. For Sabonis, for Monk, for everyone. Are you at that level of clean house where I don't care whether I'm extracting value? I want flexibility and I want to increase the value of my own picks moving forward. Are you at that point with the Kings?
Not with Sabonis because of what you said. I think he's got this year, next year, and the following year, average value of like 45 million over the 3, essentially. I think there's some point between now and the end of that deal where you can do better than the expiring salary. I would hope. And so I would need to be getting much more than just like, well, you don't have 45 and 48 in the next 2 years to worry about. You're just clearing that off. I think there's enough value to be extracted from that you can't quite go that route. Now, for Levine, I mean, maybe he comes off the books anyway and just opts out. So
that
I
would
don't
be
know
a good test of how much do you loathe Sacramento. Is he just gonna
right? Just get me out of here. DeRozan's different because he's got the partial guarantee for next year. Yeah, so to answer specifically, I don't think you're not giving up Sabonis just for flexibility, right? Because what's that even mean in Sacramento?
I am more likely because you could help facilitate trades, but I'm with you. It's when even the Clippers and the Lakers talk about these grand cap space plans in 2027. I just come back to why, like,
yeah,
just
right.
I would be more likely to do that. I'd be less likely to just take expirings for Sabonis right now than I would as the Kings to be like, look at the distressed star market right now. Like who could we get in on and try and really just like accelerate this without being, oh, we didn't give up our 2026 draft pick. Could I get Anthony Davis? Could I get LaMelo Ball? I would investigate that. If I'm keeping my 2027 pick, because we talk about teams, they weren't tanking out of the gate, but they might as well have been. Like they're in position to continue just racking up those losses. I'm not opposed to them doing that, but I'm not doing the thing where I'm giving up my 2026 draft pick, which could just be in the top 5.
You can't.
But no, you can't. But if there was a challenge trade out there, if Memphis wanted to get off John Morant's long-term money and you wanted to roll the dice on that, I'll keep going back to the LaMelo well. That's something that I'm not totally opposed to because I don't view them as having their best player of the next great Kings team on there. They had a chance when Sabonis and Fox were there, and they fucked it up. They fucked it all up. But I'm not opposed to the idea of could Sabonis, when he's healthy, be partnered with someone else and we are relevant again and it feels like we're building towards something without bottoming out.
Well, right, because the point of bottoming out would be to like if you ended up a 2 to 3 year bottoming out stretch with the rookie version of LaMelo Ball, you'd say like pretty successful, right? Like if you could imagine the Kings in Charlotte's position of a few years ago, where it's like, hey, this is the guy we got. Now, you kind of have a better sense of how good LaMelo is now, but like that type of player on a rookie scale contract, you would view that as like a successful effort, right? So yeah, I think you're right to give the alternative of, if you could just get an early to mid 20s star on a rookie scale deal like Ja, or even like Davis. Davis is harder for me. But of the Ja or LaMelo, or even like, I don't know who else are we even. It's really those two guys. Like Trae Young is a lot scarier for me if I'm the
The
Kings.
thing about mid 20 stars is that they're just not available generally.
Well,
but like
if they are, there's something up, like with Ja or with, there's real questions for sure.
Would you do? I'm trying to think of like another name that would spring to mind. So I'm thinking of ones that aren't going to cost you the farm. This could be a terrible functional fit, but I'm also kind of at the point where, well, it's Zion. What happens?
I mean, I kind of love the flexibility you get with his contract. So like because then it's like, all right, plan A flopped. We should have seen this coming. He can't stay healthy. Plan B is we just wipe that off the books, right? Because you can do the same thing with him next year, I think.
I'm just playing off your California comments from before. Do you call about Kawhi?
God. I mean, I don't think so. I think I would take that off the list of things I would try as Sacramento. You bottom out, or you go get the LaMelo or equivalent to sell some hope to fans that like this might be the guy that we can build around.
This would have to be a 3-team situation. I mean, maybe they'd be interested in Kings draft picks, but Darius Garland might be another name to throw in there.
Yeah. I mean, he shouldn't really be
Darius Garland with Domantas Sabonis. I'd probably still prefer peak LaMelo with Sabonis, just the size from LaMelo, but that offense probably ends up in the top 5 in the league.
It should be good if Garland can ever get back to that. Yeah, for sure.
Man, can we do a happy one? It's super quick. From Gregor. Which former coach would you want to have on Hardwood Knocks, Grant?
Former coach, so we can't be currently.
Yeah, so to talk about the state of the game today.
That's a good question. I mean, Stan Van Gundy has got a pretty good head on his like for a quote unquote older coach. I think he really does appreciate that teams are playing differently. Like that's what we're asked. That's what's being asked, right? Like who would you like to sort of elucidate what we're talking about with respect to like stylistic differences and stuff? I think he would do a good job at that.
So can we pick anyone who's like, what if they're an assistant right now?
Sure.
Because I wouldn't mind talking to Jeff Van Gundy either. I might ask him some Chris Paul questions.
Got a lot of questions. Yeah.
What about Greg Popovich?
I was thinking that, like I don't feel like he would tell you anything. I think he would be like, none of this matters, man. Like let's talk about wine.
Phil Jackson's a no for me.
No.
What about Pat Riley?
That would be interesting. You think he's still got? Yeah, I mean he let the Heat do weird stuff on offense this year, so he's definitely like still out there looking for advantages. There's got to be like who would just be like a ton of fun, like that.
Mike Budenholzer, I feel like philosophically, like when you look at the way he's run past teams, would be interesting, but he feels toneless when that's just not someone I could envision being a good podcast guest.
I mean, I would have a lot of questions for Taylor Jenkins. He's just had an interesting couple of years there with Memphis for a lot of reasons. He'd be interesting to talk to.
Beard grooming for sure would be on the list of those questions.
Talk about an expert.
Steve Nash, what was it like coaching as a collective with Kyrie and Kevin Durant and all? Actually, Steve Nash would be. He has mind the game with LeBron though, so maybe that's like.
I feel like we already know what. Oh, Andrew's got Joe Mazzulla. Could you imagine if we had him for like an hour? Like, would he get 6 minutes in and just refuse to speak anymore and just like look at us like we're idiots? I think yes.
Yeah, man. He's currently employed though, so we can't, unless you think he's gonna get fired. We can't go with that. Oh, Brad Stevens would be interesting, right?
Oh yeah, he's another one that he's too cagey. He wouldn't say anything. I don't think.
Okay.
We need someone who's got like nothing to lose. Yeah, just that was like he's not trying to coach again.
Mike D'Antoni.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Don Nelson. Don Nelson would say anything.
We all just get like totally blazed out of our minds, and we're just.
The thing is, like, he's so forthcoming that he has already said a bunch of like. I don't know if we could get anything new out of him, but I would like to talk to Don Nelson.
Sean Sweeney's not a bad one. Oh,
Where
I
is he
bet
now?
David Blatt is still salty.
Oh. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of good options.
Yeah, there's a ton. I think it feels like the obvious one, but I would love, I hate drinking wine, but I would get the most expensive bottle of wine possible, just be able to talk hoops with Greg Popovich and ask him
Yeah.
questions about anything and everything.
Right. Right. Yeah. If he would answer, because like you could ask him like, hey, remember when you guys were kind of the first to shoot a lot of threes and nobody like, or like to find the value of the corner three? Like, how did that conversation start? And like, you could just anything. Like, I would love Tim Duncan stories because those don't exist because he never talks. Like, you could get all kinds of great stuff out of there. And the Spurs, like, to get back to the kind of where the question stemmed from, like the Spurs changed how they played a ton of times over that dynastic stretch.
Yeah,
And
is there a single? I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to
no, I was saying they were
interrupt
at the forefront of like 3 different, like, oh shit, this is how you should play now. Like they
that. Yeah,
were,
'cause
nobody did that.
I was gonna ask about like what's the coach that feels like they've overseen more functional shifts in how they actually operate? Because Tom Thibodeau, as an example, for the most part, stubbornly committed to his principles. Phil Jackson is the same way. I think even, maybe Eric currently employed those. Spoelstra, like Rick Carlisle has changed a bunch, but those are all currently.
I think Carlisle's a really good example because remember, like the knock on him was like he calls every play, and just from that to the Pacers style was just like the distance between those two is vast. I just had somebody that I was thinking of that changed how they played. Now I can't. I mean, again, it's Stan Van Gundy, like the Orlando 4-out thing, and that's coming on the heels of like coaching some Miami teams that did not play that way briefly. I mean, so and then I don't know, I can't really pinpoint how I would describe the Pistons style when he was there. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot. I think Carlisle's the guy though. Like
he's employed. Oh, you're talking about the answer to my question. Sorry.
Yeah, answering your question.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. But Grant, I also think it's time for stat padding is back. Do you want to go first? We have some joint ones. I got some trivia for Grant. How would you like to begin, sir?
I have some things that I put together for you that I didn't tell you about. I don't think I told you I had some. So we're gonna go back to an oldie but a goodie here, which we haven't done this in a while. Dan, I'm gonna give you 2 teams and a player. You got to trade this player, and he's got to go to one of these 2 teams. So it's up to you. You're gonna have to justify your decision. Generally speaking, these are players we've had in the rumor mill to one extent or another. So you got to decide
we've
where
had it in the room. They've been podcast guests before.
Got coaches in the room, got players in the room. We're going to start with LaMelo Ball. Portland Trailblazers or Toronto Raptors? Where would you like to see him traded more?
I'd like to see him in Portland more. That team has a good defensive base, and so like having him, if you get to keep Tamani, Klingon, and Denny, if that's your 4-person core moving forward, I'm all over it. And him and Young Handsome, if he's still there, hey.
I think he would probably get to stay. I like the idea of Denny Avdia going against like a defense that isn't completely dialed into stopping him and him alone. That would be fun. All right. Jonathan Kuminga, Brooklyn Nets or Sacramento Kings?
Oh, I'm going to say Brooklyn Nets just because I'm not going to wish the Kings on anyone, even if I wish better for the Kings fans themselves. And I do think that when you kind of look at what's happened with Keegan Murray, even Nick Clifford and Keon Elliott, who's the organization you're going to trust to develop a younger talent at this point? It's not even a question. It would be Brooklyn.
I think that's right. Next player, Anthony Davis, Toronto Raptors or Atlanta Hawks?
Oh, man. I think the Raptors. I might be too low on Jakob Poeltl. I understand his importance as a screener and a decision maker to that team. And if you're not going to have an A+ passer, I think all the stuff he does on offense become that much more important. But if you want to get bigger and more menacing on your front line, Kyle Murray, Boyle, Scotty Barnes, and that's just not Mamu's game. I'm going to say the Raptors.
I think I go Hawks. It's close, but just because they need someone to rebound. And then on paper, the Davis, Trae's probably gone, I guess. The Davis, Jalen Johnson, Alexander
You could keep
Walker.
Trae. Wouldn't the point be to keep Trae if you're
Well,
Atlanta and getting Davis, or no?
I don't know. You want to have the bigger conversation about are they better with or without him?
That'd be a fun challenge trade. Trae for Anthony Davis. What are you doing with Kyrie at that point in Dallas, though? Is what gets
I don't
weird.
know. What are you doing with Ryan Nembhard? Who can say?
What are you doing with Brandon Williams?
All right, big name Giannis Antetokounmpo going to the San Antonio
Knicks.
Spurs or the Golden State Warriors.
The Knicks.
Or Dan's going off the board.
Man, I think the Spurs. The idea of Giannis and Steph would be a lot of fun, but Wemby and Giannis defensively, and they should complement one another offensively, but that might be. Or do we enter? I know this is infringing upon Oklahoma City's territory, but if you're even keeping one of Steph Castle and Dylan Harper as part of that, are you just entering the territory of, is this maybe going to be the greatest defense of all time in a single season? That front line is insane.
I think it's the Spurs as well. And I think it's just because I want to see what would happen with Wemby with a player like that next to him. Like, what do you do with him now? How do you on either end of the floor, just his ability to roam on offense? Like, you can't gear maximum defensive attention towards Wemby if Giannis is like balling down the lane and just knocking all the, what do you, so I think that's the right. Okay. Slightly smaller scale here. Kobe White, Miami Heat or Orlando Magic?
Oh man, we're still doing the guard thing with Orlando. That's kind of terrifying. I'm gonna say Miami. I'd be interested. I think that he could probably fit the way they're playing offense really well. I don't know what you do defensively with him and Tyler Hero there, assuming Tyler Hero is still there, but I'd be more intrigued with him in Miami. Just another team where it's, do they have the A+ pass or no? But now you have a bunch of different decision makers on the ball.
All right, couple more. Lauri Markkanen, probably not getting traded to the Detroit Pistons or the San Antonio Spurs.
Detroit's just that's the bit. We've already sent Giannis to San Antonio, but Markkanen, I feel you put him on Detroit in the East, and you could probably make a case that Detroit might win the East at that point.
Yeah, the fit is just, you can't beat it. All right, I got a couple more. I'm trying to decide which to use here. Okay, we haven't talked about this guy. Don't even know if he's in the rumor mill. We might put him there. Dylan Brooks, Los Angeles Lakers or Toronto Raptors?
I think the Lakers. I do believe that people are underestimating how much adding a non-shooter to the lineup could impact a team that doesn't take or make enough threes as it is already. But they just need a big, nasty defensive wing. And yeah, I want to see him and LeBron on the same team. I absolutely want to see that.
Be best buddies right away. All right, I think that's enough.
Spoiler alert, though, is I did put Dylan Brooks in the rumor mill in something that will be dropping on Saturday around these parts.
Very exciting.
Is that the only thing you have for me?
That's it.
All right, so I have two things that are Grant specific. Are you ready for the first one? Just some basic trivia here.
Okay.
Grant, 5 NBA players have dropped 50 points in a regular season or playoff game before their 21st birthday. How many can you name? I will give you 3 strikes.
50 in a game before their 21st birthday.
Correct.
Brandon Jennings.
He is the youngest player in NBA history, fun fact, to have hit the 50-point threshold. He did it in 2009 with 55. So you're right.
I remember where I was. LeBron?
He did it twice.
Okay.
So you have 2 of 5. His highest was 56 points.
Before their 21st birthday. Now I'm just in strike territory, I feel like.
You're missing an obvious. I thought this was the one of the 3 that you have not gotten, I thought was going to be your first pick, if that's any consolation.
Oh man. Does that mean it must be recent then? And I'm just, Cooper Flagg had 40, right? I don't think he had 50. So I'm not going to say him. Who's another youngish player? Yeah, this is going to get bad. 50 before 21. I don't even have anyone coming to mind right now. I'll guess Anthony Edwards.
That is strike 1.
Okay. I think the strikes are going to come fast and furious here. I'm now trying to think like who would be obvious. Sure, it happened within like the last 2 weeks, and I just wasn't paying attention, like
I'll give
blocked
you
it
a
out of my
hint.
mind.
It did not happen within the last 2 weeks.
All right, 50 before. Man, this is not not only is this not a good sign for this exercise, this is not a good sign for the rest of stat padding because my brain is not working very well. I will just say I'll just start going usual suspects. I'll say Kevin Durant.
Strike 2.
Okay, here comes strike 3. I will say, I don't know. I'll say Wemby. I don't think he has a 50, but
He's on there, 3 of 5.
Oh,
He dropped 50 in 2024. Look at you.
staying alive.
Grant, you need to believe in yourself.
Okay.
If you don't believe in you, who will?
Uncle Dennis. I'll say Luca.
That is strike 3. You still did not get the name I expected. The 2 remaining were Kevin Porter Jr. dropped 50 in 2021. Devin Booker's 70-point game in 2017. That's the 70-point game is what I thought you would get.
No, I did not remember it was that far back. I don't know how many strikes I would have needed for Kevin Porter. I don't think I would have guessed. I totally forgot he had 50.
I thought you were going to get 4 on that. I would never have remembered the KPJ one either.
Yeah, man. Weirdly, Booker 70 does not feel that long ago, but time is a flat circle.
No, that's when I saw the year. I was just like, oh shit,
yeah,
we old, we washed. All right, this next one for you, Grant, is where would these NBA max salaries rank today? So I'm going to give you an NBA legend, and you have to guess whether their highest single season salary for their career, where it would rank in today's NBA. But I'm going to give you an over-under, and then I'll reveal the salary at the end.
Okay.
So Michael Jordan, would his highest salary of his career have been a top 50 salary this season? Yes or no?
Ooh, man, I don't know if he ever made 40. Would it be a top? You said would it be a top 50?
Correct.
I'm going to say yes because I'm pretty sure he made at least 30, and I think that might be enough to get into the top 50.
You are correct. It would have ranked 50th, just behind Chris Middleton. Michael Jordan's career high was $33.1 million.
Okay.
That's
a lot of money in like $97.
That is. Shaquille O'Neal, would his highest salary have been a top 50 salary this season?
Oh, man. What was Shaq's highest salary? I think it would have. I'm going to say yes.
That is incorrect. It would have ranked 64th. It's $27.7 million, just behind RJ Barrett.
The most Shaq ever made was $27 million.
Yeah.
Man. Okay.
Carmelo Anthony, would his career high salary have been a top 75 salary this season?
I mean, he had to. Oh, man. So we know that doesn't even have to be that high. That might only need to be just over 30. Did Melo ever? Man, I guess he's been out for a little while. I'm still going to say yes. It would have been top 75.
That is correct. His career high of $26.2 million would have ranked 69th. Nice. Just behind John Collins.
So 26 guy. This is good. I need to keep this information. 26 million is good for top 75. Got it.
Derrick Rose, would his career high salary have been a top 85 salary this season?
All right. I'm going to guess he never made more than like 23 million. So I'm going to guess that was not in the top. That would not be in the top 85.
You are correct. And this one was bait because Derrick Rose's career high of 21.3 million would have ranked 86th this season, just behind Vooch.
All right.
Here we go, Grant. Magic Johnson, would his career high salary have been a top 300 salary this season?
Well, all I remember is that he signed one of those incredibly long contracts. And so I think he was stuck making very little for a very long time. So I'm going to say it would not have been in the top 300.
You're correct again. It would have ranked $3.1 million, would have ranked 302nd, just behind Deron Holmes II.
That's tough.
Grant, Kobe Bryant, Would his career high salary have been a top 50 salary this season?
Oh, what was the number that everybody got all bent out of shape? I feel like it was like 2 for 48 or something back like over 10 years ago, where it's like, wow, clearly winning's not the most important thing to him if he's getting all this from the Lakers. I definitely made that argument in a past life. Top 50, you said?
Correct.
Did he make more than 20? I'm going to say yes.
That is incorrect. His $30.4 million career high salary would have ranked 59th, just behind CJ McCollum.
Ouch.
Tim Duncan, would his career high salary have been a top 100 salary this season?
Man, I wish I could remember what he signed. I'm going to say no. It would not have been a top 100.
That is incorrect. 22.1 million was his career high. It would have ranked 83rd, just behind Kyle Kuzma.
The comps are great.
All right, 3 more. Allen Iverson, would his career high salary have been a top 100 salary this season?
I got to say no.
That is incorrect. It would have ranked 89th, just behind Norman Powell, 20.8 million.
Wow, he made 20. Okay.
Kevin Garnett, would his career high salary have been a top 75 salary this season?
If you'd given me top 100, I definitely would have said yes. 75 makes it harder. So we knew Melo at 26 was just above that. Did Garnett ever make 26? I'm going to say, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it is not inside the top 75.
That is incorrect. Kevin Garnett's career high salary was $28 million, which would have ranked 63rd, just behind Derek White this season.
Another Celtics legend.
Final one here. Dirk Nowitzki, would his career high salary have been a top 75 salary in 2025, 2026?
I'm going to say no, because he took the sweetheart deal towards the end, and those should have been like the big, gaudy earning years.
That is also incorrect. His career high salary is $25 million, which would have ranked 72nd this year, tied with equally legendary names such as Josh Giddey, Fred VanVleet, and Trey Murphy.
Oh man, Nick Wilson in the chat did say inflation adjusted ? It'd be interesting to look at those. That Jordan figure 30 years ago making 30 million. That's got to be up there.
It wouldn't have been it would have been. I thought it was confusing enough to explain without adjusting for inflation. It also wouldn't.
No. Yeah, I'm just curious.
It wouldn't have been stat padding if we included inflation adjusted. But it was just funny to see how in a short amount of time how much it seems like the Melo stuff to where it's that's just $26+ million. It's like not even a top 50 salary anymore.
Yeah. What a heist it would be to get a Carmelo Anthony making $26 million right now.
So we have some group ones now. Do we want to get to those?
Yeah.
So let's do. Should we do the building a lineup of smalls one? This one seems difficult.
Okay. Yeah. I wish I had like a day to research this, but let's dive in.
Okay. So Grant, we are tasked with building a starting lineup that would rank in the top 5 of defense. Here's the catch. None of the players we select can be taller than 6'5", and we are maxed at taking one player from a single team. So we cannot just draft Oklahoma City Thunder players ad nauseum. I will humbly defer to you for the first pick of this draft.
Well, this is such a no-brainer pick. And it's you pointed this out. I did not think there was any way this guy was listed at 6'5". I thought he was taller, but we have to take him and we have to burn our Thunder pick, because I was going to take Alex Caruso, but you pointed out that Jalen Williams is listed at 6'5". I don't believe it, but we're going with it because we need somebody that can guard up. And it's really hard to find that any play. We're going to have no problem like with the ball hawk, jumping passing lanes guys, but we got to have someone that can credibly guard almost any 4, and did spend time last year as like an elite rim defender. Remember that? That was a fun stretch of last season when Jada was like one of the best rim protectors in the league.
He's the rim protector on this team. He's still contesting over 40% of opponent shots when he's on the floor. He's the rim protector on this team immediately. I don't know who else we would draft.
No, it's got to be him.
I will say that does remove Casey Wallace, Alex Caruso, and Lou Dort and AJ
Yep.
Mitchell if you're so inclined from the board. Pick number 2. Now this is already getting tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Jalen Suggs.
Yeah.
He is pretty strong, and he is just an absolute menace and is going to be able to force a ton of turnovers. I don't trust him to guard up as much, but I think that you could put him on bigger players and have him muck up a ton of possessions away from the ball, because it will probably be easier as we go through this to find guys who can defend the ball adequately.
We don't care about offense, right?
We're trying to build top 5 defense.
Okay. Because I'm not saying I'm picking him, but Anthony Edwards qualifies. And like, if we cared about overall,
he helps there.
Rebounding, overall quality of the team, we're not going to go that route. Man, I think this guy's too old, but we still have to be able to guard up. And I think Drew Holiday can still do well against like bigger wings and forwards. Okay. I don't like him against 1s and 2s anymore. But
can we play him just the first 15 games of the season?
That's the thing. Like, yeah. Are we worried about? I guess we're only drafting 5 guys, so we're not like depth is not a consideration. You can talk me off Drew Holiday, but I do think we still need someone that you can throw on forwards. Like we're gonna be fine in the backcourt. I'm struggling to find someone that I like better as like a. I mean, like he guarded Kevin Durant like in a playoff series.
Can I throw this out? From a rebounding, guarding up perspective, we're still on pick number 3 here.
Yeah.
Josh Hart. He's not shutting anybody down. He's not turning off the water the way that Drew Holiday would.
The rebounding is a big deal though. Like you can't just, it doesn't matter how effective you are defensively. Yeah, right. You got to end the possession. I think there's room for Josh Hart. There's no other. Bridges is too tall. OG is obviously too tall. There's nobody else you'd think about on the Knicks. McBride, he'd probably take Hart because of the rebounding. All right, I'm going to allow Josh Hart. I think we can work with that. We do need rebounding.
So my pick was going to be actually, I had Anthony Edwards in my head.
Oh, really?
Because I want the rebounding, and he gives you a little bit of that. And it's now, can he guard up? I don't know, but we know when he's locked in, he can turn off the water of elite players. And I don't know if we're using J-Dub as kind of our backline guy. So you have Suggs, Anthony Edwards, and because Josh Hart's not going to be that guy if he's on this team. So we have 2 guys that we're not going to use in that capacity.
I mean, you could go Chris Dunn if you want, like the on-ball pest.
There's Derek White too.
Derek White's another pretty clear one. Good shot blocker for a guard. So who are our definites right now? Suggs is on it. J-Dub's on it.
I'm kind of not married to anybody else.
Okay. I think Hart, is there a better defender than Hart? Probably. But the rebounding is iffy. I think maybe we both looked at Edwards. I think we better put Edwards on the team.
Okay.
I'm with that. So Edwards is there with.
What about Nickeil Alexander-Walker?
I do love Nah. He can guard up a little bit. Is he? Do you like him better than Hart, Dunn, White, or
guarding up? I might like him better than Derek White. He's also contested an insane number of shots at the rim this year too, Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah, I kind of just want Derek White now.
Okay.
Maybe I care too much about the offense, but I think Derek White's really good.
Okay, so we have Derek White, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Suggs, and Jalen Williams.
Yeah,
that is our
pretty good.
4. We need 1 more.
Yeah, we need this guy's got to be. I don't know if this player exists. Maybe it needs to be Hart because of the rebounding and the playing up stuff. Just
how tall is Dylan Brooks?
He's got to be 6'7". Or 6'6".
If he's 6'5", I want a medal because that becomes the obvious pick, correct?
Yeah. Are you looking it up right now?
I'm looking up now. So Dylan Brooks on NBA.com is what we agreed to use. He is listed at 6'7". Holy shit, that's bigger than that's bigger than I thought he was. I thought he might be 6'5". I thought I could sneak it in there.
I think we better go I don't know. Do you feel like if we pick Hart, everybody's going to be like, actually, his defensive numbers are not that good?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I do. I'm just trying to think of who. I mean, we really want to like. Do we go with like a Drew Smith in Miami or?
I mean, I think we should go. So I think Holiday is a candidate. I
I
mean, we
think it should
haven't
probably be
mentioned Marcus.
Holiday.
We haven't mentioned Marcus Smart either.
We
If
don't
you're
need to.
worried,
That's fine.
okay, that's fine. Just
If it's
want to mention
between
him.
Smart and Drew Holiday, I'm taking Drew Holiday
9
times out of
too.
10.
Gary Payton II should be mentioned because that's why he's in the league is defense, and he's technically a power forward. We took Derek White.
Ayo Dosunmu
The Sumu
guarding
is
up can do some
interesting.
of that. I think we might be at Drew Holiday territory, or at least the idea of Drew Holiday.
I think it's Holiday or Hart, and it's just Holiday's not going to rebound like Hart, which might be what matters. But Holiday's just like I think Holiday's still probably a better defender. I would vote Holiday.
I'll vote Holiday too, because even someone named Max Christie doesn't throw that out. So we ended up with Jalen Williams, Drew Holiday, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Suggs, and Derek White. I think that team ranks top 5 in defense. What say you?
The offense isn't too bad either.
No, it's not. I mean, having Anthony Edwards and Derek White goes a long way there in J-Dub.
Yeah.
We have what? 2 number 2 options and a number 1 option on the team.
Pretty good.
Okay, are you ready? I invented this. I don't know if it's out there, Grant. So are you ready to do a game I invented?
I'm so ready.
Start, bench, trade, cut, friendly fire edition. We begin with the San Antonio Spurs. Our 4-player pool is Steph Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Devin Vassell. So you have to take the lead on this team.
All right. I'm gonna start. Ooh, this is already hard. The start should be easy. You know what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna start Steph Castle. I am going to bench
That is
Dylan
not
Harper.
what I thought you were gonna do. Wow.
I'm gonna bench Dylan Harper. I am going to trade De'Aaron Fox, and I'm going to cut Devin Vassell. Sorry to everybody. What order would you have gone there?
I think I would have flipped Harper and Castle.
Okay, that's fine.
But I kind of saw where you were going with Fox and Vassell.
Yeah. All right. Do you want me to give you the next one?
Yeah, let's alternate. Yeah.
All right. So for the Washington Wizards, Dan, start, bench, trade, cut. Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson, Alex Sarr.
I'm going to start Alex Sarr. I'm going to bench Keyshawn George. I can't do this. I'm gonna trade Bilal Coulibaly and cut Trey Johnson. I don't feel confident in that last part though.
That's tough. The trade and the cut is like you don't want to do either of those, but that's why this is a tough exercise.
I think would Bilal get one? Would Trey Johnson be the one who got more in a trade right now?
Ooh, I don't think so. That's the thing. You're almost complimenting the guy you trade because you're saying,
yeah,
you're helping us by getting us something.
The Oklahoma City Thunder, Grant. Start, bench, trade, cut. Chet Holmgren, Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, and Jalen Williams.
So easy.
J-Dub.
I'm going to start J-Dub. I'm going to bench Chet. I think you get more for Wallace. So I'm going to trade Wallace and I'm going to cut Caruso. The Thunder just got a lot worse.
I think I probably would have done what you did.
Good. That means that's how we know it's wrong. The Houston Rockets are next. Dan, start, bench, trade, cut. Alperen Şengün, Reed Shepherd, we know where that's going. Jabari Smith Jr., and Amen Thompson. This is the hardest one so far.
So I'm going to start Alperen Şengün. I'm going to bench Reed Shepherd. I am going to trade Amen Thompson and cut Jabari Smith Jr. I think, to me, it comes down to, I do believe that Şengün and Shepherd will be better at driving offenses for an entire team than Thompson, and you could probably get so much from Amen Thompson in a trade right now.
Yeah. Could you get more for him? I think you probably still get more for Şengün, but Thompson you get a haul for that guy.
Yeah, so I feel confident in that decision. I might have started Reed Shepherd. Maybe I'll regret that one. Grant, your New York Knicks start,
Oh,
bench, cut, trade OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Mitchell Robinson, and Karl Anthony Towns.
all right. I am starting OG. I am. Ooh. All right.
Do
I'm
it.
benching Mikal Bridges.
I knew it.
And I'm trading Cat, and I am cutting Mitchell Robinson. I don't
I
know
think
what you're
that's
getting
right.
for Cat, but he can't be a starter or bench, so I don't know, I don't know what to do there.
Yeah, I think that's right because Mitchell Robinson with the health stuff and the lower salary, what are you going to get for him in a trade anyway?
Yeah, yeah. All right,
Char-
Charlotte Hornets,
Charlotte.
Dan.
Oh, this is me. Sorry, go
I'm gonna.
ahead.
Yeah, this has to be you. Well, this isn't gonna be that hard for you. Start, bench, trade, cut. LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Con Knipple, Brandon Miller.
Oh man. So LaMelo, I'm starting. That'll surprise no one who listens to this podcast. Maybe I'm pilled. I'm gonna bench Con Knipple, trade Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges could GTFO. He could be cut.
That's the correct order, unless you want to go. You're trading LaMelo, but that's not you. That's not a move you would make. So
I'm not. Would you have made it?
I think it's more interesting if you start Knipple, bench Miller, trade LaMelo, and cut Bridges. Bridges is the easiest cut we've had of any team, and I don't think that's going to change the rest of the way.
Grant, Portland Trailblazers, start, bench, trade, cut. Tamani Kamara, Donovan Clingan, Scoot Henderson, and Shaden Sharp. This is fucking hard.
This is really hard because it's like just four totally different players. All right, so the starter is you can't miss on the starter. So a prisoner of the moment situation right now. I think I'm starting Shaden Sharp, and then I'm going to bench Tamani Kamara. I'm going to trade Scoot, and I'm going to cut Klingon.
Wow.
Your
You think
thought?
so? You think Scoot has more? I'm probably tantalized by the Shaden Sharp upside too. And if you're not going to pick him, if you're saying you're going to start so and so you're kind of just out on any of these guys becoming a cornerstone at that point. So unless it's Scoot.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like, I think before the season, I probably would have said I'd pay Kamara more than I would pay Shaden Sharp, but that would have been a dumb thing to say. Sharp's upside is still just,
Yeah.
who knows, right? That's tough. If you throw Avdia in there, everything gets a little simpler, but
That's why
that's why he's not.
That's why he wasn't in there.
All right, Memphis Grizzlies, Dan. Start, bench, trade, cut. Cedric Coward, Zach Edey, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Ja Morant.
Okay, so this is harder if you're thinking about gaming out the actual franchise. But I am going to start Jaren Jackson Jr., bench Cedric Coward.
Do it.
Trade Zach Edey and cut Ja Morant. What is his trade value right now? Are you seriously? Give me the team that is giving up a first-round pick for Ja Morant right now. I think maybe this is stupid because Zach Edey. What are they giving up for Zach Edey with the health? Yeah, you have to trade Ja Morant, cut Zach Edey.
The takeaway here is there's no scenario where you start or bench Ja. He's firmly in the trade or cut. This is how every front office should make its decisions. They should all get in a room and just play start, bench, trade, cut, and then that's how you game out the trade deadline. Mike,
the friendly fire of it all was interesting too because it's normally just players from different teams, but when you're starting to think about it from the same organizational perspective, it gets harder. Maybe we should if you liked it, comment or let us know in our Discord and we'll bring that back. Otherwise, do you have anything else, Grant?
I don't think so. That's a good invention. I'll just say that because you have to think
like
about
a
it.
Super big trend somewhere where I just
not to my knowledge. So it's new to me. No, I think that's going to do it. Thanks everybody for your mailbag submissions. Sorry if we didn't get to you. We'll try to get it next time. And thanks for the in the moment comments as well. Please, as always, remember, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things, as we like to say, during our Discord. Links for that in the YouTube and podcast description. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. Shouts, Frank Ntilikina. Apologies, Jared Allen.